Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today I will be breaking down the Squadron 42 monthly report. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you so much for the support, it is truly appreciated, and if you do enjoy my videos, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Now, before we begin, there is a lot of talk going around that Squadron 42 is approaching a content and feature complete state, and that we will be seeing a video update at this year's CitizenCon, and the potential that Squadron 42 is going to be available on other platforms aside from the PC. Now, there is no confirming if any of this information is true. However, regarding the content and feature complete statement, I do feel this is somewhat apparent based on what we have been reading over the last few monthly reports. And I would truly love to see a video update at CitizenCon, and I certainly think it is a possibility as well, but equally not possible. They could still hold on to the information on Squadron until they feel it is ready to show off more. But if we do see things like the briefing room return, then we will be on the road to Squadron releasing. Obviously, time will tell if we are going to see any videos on Squadron 42, but hopefully if we get the itinerary, it will tell us. Now, in regards to the other platform statement, it is possible that a single-player game like Squadron 42 could release and run on the consoles, as it is certainly not as complex as the PU. And I do think that it would be a great idea to do so to draw more people into Star Citizen and PC gaming, as I myself bought a PC to play Arma 3 specifically, so Star Citizen can definitely be a game for many to get into PC gaming, but Chris Roberts would 100% want to make sure that the port from PC to consoles for Squadron 42 is done properly and not half-assed like we see with other games often. So we will see if this comes along, but it is looking more and more likely that Squadron 42 could release in about a year or two. Hopefully we're talking by next year. That would be incredible. But as I say, these are not confirmed. Nothing here is confirmed, so do take that with a pinch of salt. But let us get to the monthly report, which is all official. Now, kicking off with the AI features team, it says they reviewed perception to fix issues where NPCs wouldn't correctly recognize that the target was dead, or that they had seen a situation beforehand which led to various bugs. They also revisited the cover usage system, polishing various functionality and animations to ensure that the feature works across a range of situations and environments. And cover usage is referring to the ability for NPCs to use items and geometry around the environment to hide behind and fire from against the player. Now, changes and fixes were also made to the tactical point system, which is used to drive where the AI moves, and this will help to identify what needs to be adjusted when reviewing combat in new locations. Also, balancing was done for AI ammunition usage while maintaining reload and ammo finding functionality to provide realistic and emergent behaviors and gameplay situations. So AI are actually able to search for things in the local area, like replenishing their ammunition, for example, be that from crates or downed characters, other downed NPCs, and they will be limited by what physical ammo they have on them, but they can obviously go and replenish that. And finally, the team reviewed, revisited and polished combat, including low and high cover reload animations for various weapons, and female animations were converted from male assets. Plus, they began developing animations for Marine Squad hand signals to sell group movement and combat. So again, mostly polish work going on here, ensuring that the standard is as high as it can be and as bug-free as possible. Now, for the AI tech team, they added new functionality to the Apollo subsumption tool, not the ship, this is just a tool, and began improving subsumption data validation, which will allow designers to iterate faster when creating or adjusting missions and behaviors. Now, on the Boids feature, Boids being small creatures like birds, fish, rodent, that kind of thing, the team continued implementing base functionability to allow the agents being the Boids, to adopt different states, such as wandering, idling, or fleeing, and transitioning between those states. And currently, they are looking for a low-cost solution to keep these agents on terrain while moving. Really looking forward to seeing what these look like and how they act in game, but also what they can bring to the environments visually, creating more of a sort of living, breathing world. Now, for NPC audio perception, the team implemented new functionality for how audio stimuli is propagated, This involved using the room system and how rooms are connected to determine whether an audio event should be heard or not. The team also continued to improve navigation links, which is how the NPCs can navigate on a surface, as the connect navigation triangle links from different zones were not working as intended. Plus, they fixed how animations play when they begin and finish in different zones. So for example, when an NPC jumps to the ground from a hovering ship. Hopefully with these types of fixes, things like these NPC reinforcements that we have at the derelict outposts will mean that the NPCs can actually get up from their seats and deploy, rather than just sitting inside ready to be killed. And finally, for the team, investigation began into performance issues related to the navigation system and Pathfinder. Now, moving on to the AI vehicles team, they worked through issues preventing the new AI features from working correctly, and fixed faults with the recent aiming system refactor, just to ensure that NPCs can shoot correctly. Plus, they worked with the level designers to fix various problems causing the AI to not work in certain places. And finally, the team will be focusing on game-wide flight AI improvements, as well as continue to fine-tune the gameplay experience throughout the flight sections. So again, lots more bug fixes going on here as well. It really looks like they are trying to solidify and get everything polished and bug-free, less about bringing in new systems or features, and more about getting the current standing ones working as intended, which is a good sign, as it could mean that there are little to no more features left to be implemented. So for the animation team, they worked with level and AI designers to close out animations across various locations, including the medbay, bridge, mess hall, and hangar door. They are currently improving the overall feel of player actions through slides, basic movement, weapon usage, and more, which involved adjusting weapon malfunctions, first-person interactions with the environments, like opening a hatch for example, first selects for new weapons, and a selection of other animations. So even there, we're hearing that they're improving these systems. Many of these systems we are yet to get into the PU, like sliding, weapon malfunctions, and so on. Plus, just polishing up the basic movement is something that I think we need in the PU a lot, so it'll be nice to see any and all of this come to the PU, bringing it more to a better standard. The team also progressed with combat AI for both enemies and civilians, as well as working with narrative and design to get level-specific scenes implemented correctly. It'll be quite fun to see just what the civilians do in times of danger. We've heard that some will run, some will hide, others will likely grab whatever items they have lying around and go and fight. It'll be a lot of fun seeing what happens. The mocap team worked alongside the writers to add the finishing narrative touches to certain areas and supported spot improvement to AI behaviors, and on the facial side, the team completed a large number of behavioral lines and performances to bring the flight combat, ground combat, and background ambience to life. So here is another team, this time animation, closing out, improving and completing a lot of different work pieces, which again is very nice to read about. Now, moving on to the audio team, they worked towards a major audio milestone, with the aim of this milestone being to provide sound effects for all of the work done by the upstream strike teams and identify any required post-alpha changes or improvements. Not sure what post-alpha means. Surely that would just mean beta. Maybe there's a bit of purgatory between the two. We will have to wait and see. But the audio tech team also made significant progress on the WALA system, WALA referring to crowd audio, which they say is close to first pass complete. And this system groups NPCs into clusters based on their proximity, allowing for dynamic localized audio that simulates ambient chatter. Now, the resonance tech progressed as well, which we heard about on Inside Star Citizen recently. Plus, they continued to ensure that the game builds remain stable during development so that devs can work seamlessly. Audio also began tagging cinematic animations with new Foley sound effects, which it says is an integral push towards implementing audible layers to cinematics with bespoke animations such as punches or fist bumps receiving their initial audio pass. The team also continued to develop and implement effects for a variety of Squadron 42 specific weapons, including the Vault manufacturer, ensuring that their sounds align with the bold, high-tech design. So Vault weapons are very cool. I love the design of them. I don't think I realized, I don't know if it's been mentioned before, but I certainly didn't realize that these Vault weapons were specifically for Squadron first, and we won't get them into the PU until Squadron is released. Bit of a shame, but we do see this with certain things as they want to keep a lot of the Squadron elements a surprise, which I do understand completely. Now, there was also a significant push to create and improve the sound effects for various puzzles found throughout the campaign, with every puzzle being in some way unique. This, they say, opened the potential for providing distinctive and innovative sounds, plus in-game gadgets, including the Flashbang, received fine-tuning and new implementations. So interesting they mentioned Flashbangs. Of course, for some time now we have known that CIG want all manner of FPS gadgets, including a full array of grenade types, but the fact that the audio team, a downstream team, are working on audio for Flashbangs must mean that this grenade type in particular is already functioning and in-game for Squadron, which will be a great grenade for the persistent universe, especially with boarding action. And finally, for the audio team, they made significant post-alpha improvements to the game's environments, building on what was already in place and providing locations with more subtle ambience. Again, post-alpha, but as I say, more of these reports point to things being feature and content complete, and now it is polishing, bug fixing, getting to that state of beta. I don't know if they're no longer allowed to say beta and they have to use post-alpha. Maybe there is an in-between slot somewhere. But either way, it is all progressing to that complete state, which is great to read about. Now, moving on to the gameplay features team, work began on the vehicle radar's landing UI, with the team initially investigating rendering the environment outside of the ship in the vehicle's radar display, so players can see the area they intend to land on, with the geometry being marked up to display the relevant landing area. Now, this is wonderful news, as landing in the PU is a lot of fun, but can be very challenging, especially as you increase the size of the ship. So it is very nice to get an idea of what CIG's intentions are now for this landing assistance. And this sounds like the ship's radar will turn into some form of mini-map displaying the terrain or local area that you're in and where you're planning to set down on, so that you can see all of the obstacles, the lumps, the bumps, the plants, helping you to make a smoother landing. Do remember, this is for Squadron 42 first. Like with anything we read about here, it will come into the PU. Not everything will come straight away, not everything will take forever to come in, but once it's in the Squadron build, they will polish it out there, then bring it to the PU, which means we should be getting more of a finished state of that feature, because they will want it to be finished for Squadron at the least. Now, the team also continued to extend crane controller functionality based on a new use case. Crane controller, I believe, is referring to the physical use of a crane for moving things like cargo boxes, or even ships, I suppose. We will have to wait and see. And finally, they made improvements to hints and tutorials, Mobiglass notification forwarding to the visor, and Mobiglass linking. So nice to see more progress for the Mobiglass, for the visor, and updating its UI and functionality. This is something we have been needing in the PU for a while. Now, for the vehicle features team, they work towards closing out the self-status UI screen and filling out mission features in the various subscreens, including information on quantum travel and fuel. They also received support from the UI art team to improve the visuals and ship rendering, and related to this, the turret variant of the self-status MFD, or multifunction display, can now render a 3D model of the turret, which will be improved by the UI artists in the near future. The vehicle loadout terminal is approaching feature complete with additions of special features for group equipping items. So, for example, changing a single thruster can change others if required, or equipping a specific missile will automatically swap out to the correct missile rack, which does sound nice, making it a little bit more intuitive or user-friendly. Also, good to hear them mentioning thruster swapping. I do often forget that we will be able to change thrusters out on our ships, be that main, retro, or maneuvering, depending on what we want. Now, additionally to all of this, the UI team is creating a 3D augmented reality display for the vehicle loadout terminal, which will be located in the Idris's hangar, where players can customize their ships. And this sounds to me similar to the work-in-progress version that we got to see a while ago, while the UI team were exploring various new methods. It won't be like this one for one, hopefully similar, but a lot more polished. Now, vehicle features also began looking into changes to vehicle aiming, exploring a feature similar to aim-down sights where players can zoom in on their target and receive additional aiming assistance to target subcomponents or line up better shots, with this option still being explored. Now, one thing that I do enjoy in Starfield's flight combat is how your camera zooms in on the target ship when trying to take out the components. I do think this would be a great option for Star Citizen, hopefully through some more diegetic means like optics, rather than just your view being able to zoom in, as I've never been a great fan of that artificial ability to zoom our view in like we do with FPS right now. So hopefully this can be an option, but through some optical device, I suppose, as it will be great for not just being able to shoot at exact locations, but it will be great visually to see the damage that you are doing on the target, as that will be very satisfying. Now, progress was made on the resource network, which is the engineering systems where all components communicate with one another to make sure the ship functions as intended, which is putting it very simple, with the team providing support for various vehicle items that use fuel and power, such as quantum drives and thrusters. And lastly, for the team, they supported level design on their gameplay sequences, providing bug fixes and technical support for new smaller features to aid with building out levels and experiences. Now, moving on to the gameplay story team, they spent most of the month supporting the strike team with improvements and additions around the Idris, which involved refactoring and supporting the recently created deck crew track view and adding additional idle animations, and improved prop interactions to the mess hall scenes. They also spent a few days working on new turret content and added additional life to these areas. Now, new mocap data was used to incorporate several dialogue changes to key character scenes requested by design, and towards the end of the month, the team switched focus to prep for upcoming narrative shoots, with the team saying, "We have about 20 new gameplay story scenes being added, and we are keen to ensure the resulting data can be implemented as smoothly as possible." Next up, we have the level design team, who continue to focus on the Idris interstitials. Outside of scene maintenance and updates, the social narrative team worked closely with AI content, pushing hard on crew behaviors. This included supporting the implementation of background vignettes in the Idris's hangar for use after the player lands. And this includes the deck crew pushing ladders up to the Gladius and climbing on top of it to carry out maintenance, refueling the ship, and carry out cockpit and weapon checks. And the same was then done for pre-flight vignettes, with the deck crew prepping the player's ship for takeoff with thruster and weapon checks. Now, this is going to be so cool to see in Squadron 42, but personally for me, I am more excited for getting my hands on this ladder in my own hangar so that I can perform those repairs on my own ships in the persistent universe. Now, for the narrative team, they were heavily involved in recent performance capture shoots, which included working with level design to solidify the flow of levels and scripts, as well as working with the core gameplay and audio teams to detail wildline scripts for characters. And this includes some new characters that had been introduced in the latest levels, as well as pickups for a handful of returning actors that had been previously captured. I also remember Chris Roberts teasing a while back that not all of the actors in Squadron 42 are known, and so there will likely be others that we have no idea are part of the cast. Now, part of these lines that they're recording include buddy AI designs for both FPS and flight sections that have been implemented since the last time they had been captured. The narrative team also delved into some of the collectibles that players will be able to find scattered throughout the levels, as well as progressing with defining the categories and content that will go into the Squadron 42 version of the Collectipedia. Really looking forward to seeing these collectibles, not just in Squadron, but more importantly what random items we will be finding in the PU. Some of great worth, some completely based on the eye of the beholder, but all available for players to pick up and display in their ships, hangars, hubs and homes, and hopefully a lot of these collectibles, or all of these collectibles we get in Squadron, once we complete it and get into the PU, will hopefully be available for us to display there as well. And finally, we have the visual effects team. They continue to work on fire propagation, improving the visuals further, with fog volumes being used to show smoke accumulating at ceiling height, alongside further visual breakup of the fire particle effects. Now, if that Inside Star Citizen episode showing fire is anything to go by, if they have improved the visuals beyond what we saw there, it will look phenomenal. And if smoke now rolls to the ceiling It'll be quite daunting tackling fire, but ultimately very exciting. And if the old PS1 game Roscoe McQueen taught me anything, it'll be very satisfying as well. So there you have it. That is this month's Squadron 42 monthly report. Some great progress on there, and let us hope that we do get to see a video update at this year's CitizenCon. I would love to, and fingers crossed they mentioned that Squadron is feature and content complete, as that would be a big win for getting the game released sometime in the near future, being a year I would hope at the latest, but of course we have absolutely no idea until they tell us. With that said though, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, please do consider subscribing. We are making a push for that 60,000 subscriber mark. Come and follow me over at twitch.tv/supermacbrother. You are all more than welcome over there. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. Cannot do this without you guys, so thank you so much for the support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.